Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for the Alliance for Community Trees Webcast Series. The ACTrees Webcast Series is a monthly webcast held at the lunch hour. These trainings leverage local successes by amplifying to a larger audience two organizations' methods, materials, and approaches. These sessions are planned to last for no more than 1 hour, with two presenters speaking on the same topic from slightly different perspectives, each for 10 to 15 minutes, followed by 10 to 15 minutes of questions and answers from the audience. Today's session is approved by SAF, the Society of American Foresters, for one CFE Category 2. So make sure we've got your number if you want that educational credit. Also, if you have any questions about receiving education credits from past webcasts this summer, just shoot us an email and we'll make sure that you're getting that if you've had any problems. Also, most state landscape architecture boards require only a certificate of completion, which we can provide to anyone who needs that. So again, just shoot us an email and we'll send you that so you can get your educational credits. This webcast is a program of Alliance for Community Trees. We are a national network of local organizations working to plant, care for, and advocate for trees to make communities cleaner, greener, and healthier all over the country. If you're not already a member of Alliance for Community Trees, please consider joining. Today's session is Corporate Citizenship, Investing in Communities and Canopy. Community greening projects offer a unique opportunity for businesses to give back to the communities they serve. Through structured corporate social responsibility programs, more and more companies are turning to tree planting as a favored community service project. Corporate volunteer tree plantings demonstrate a commitment to investing in a city's sustainable future. At the same time, they allow companies to raise visibility in key markets, facilitate team building through employee engagement, and make a tangible difference in the places where their customers and employees live, work, and play. Today, we've got two great speakers representing different companies that engage in community tree planting in fantastic ways with impressive impact on the ground. We're so pleased to have them with us, John Kitchens from CSX and Katie Thiemann from TD Bank. We're going to start off with John today. John Kitchens is the Corporate Citizenship Director for CSX Transportation, overseeing CSX's relationships with charitable organizations and other community partners across the company's 23-state network. John's responsibilities include corporate philanthropy, volunteerism, community programs and partnerships, and company response to communities impacted by natural disasters. Before joining CSX, John served in several positions at Florida Power and Light Company, most recently as Community Relations Director, with responsibility for foundation and company philanthropy, volunteer programming, and school education programs. John also played a key role in emergency management and business continuity efforts with Florida Power and Light. Clearly, lots of experience in the corporate social responsibility field. We're so glad to have you with us, John. We love working with you, and we're really excited to hear what you have to say this afternoon.
Thank you, Leland. Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to be with you here today. Talk a little bit about corporate social responsibility at CSX. We're going to spend a few minutes on that. Then we'll get into more of some of the proactive things that we do in our CSR endeavors, and then get into what we're doing specifically with trees and urban tree canopy. So thanks for having me and listening in today. I'm going to go ahead and get started with the value proposition of CSR at CSX. Like many companies, we've been moving from what used to be philanthropy to engaged philanthropy to philanthropy by objectives to kind of a more holistic approach to everything we do and how it is related to social responsibility. At CSX, we're in the rail transportation business. Our company operates in 23 states on the eastern side of the Mississippi. We're primarily a freight transportation company. We also do intermodal transportation. That's the large containers that you see on ships and trains and trucks. So looking at this particular slide, our involvement surrounds rail facilities, rail freight, and hopefully we manage that in a way in which it produces financial results. So we do have some key stakeholders that we try to reach through our corporate citizenship and other forms of community engagement. Clearly the communities, employees, customers, and investors, and we have specific objectives for each of those. With communities, it's really the right to be able to operate and conduct our rail freight and intermodal business. For employees, it's obviously, like many organizations, trying to find the best and brightest and to recruit them to our company and keep them here. We do believe that many of the things we do in corporate citizenship make our company an attractive place to work and stay. On the customer end, we need to continue to build. Part of that is being successful in expanding our rail facilities, but also our ability to serve customers and deliver freight, and to instill confidence with our customers that we're going to be able to get their commodity from point A to point B on time. And then, of course, we're all in business, or at least those of us in the for-profit side, to earn and to minimize risk to our investors. So how do we reach these different objectives through CSR? There's a number of different ways. Clearly by communicating what we're doing and how we're doing it, by providing opportunities for these stakeholders to get to know us through community events, corporate events, through partnerships that we have engaged in across our network, and through charitable community investments or contributions. Again, corporate social responsibility is everything that a company does in order to support the society and make the right decisions on how they run their business. What we do in our operations is a big part of that, but our particular area is the corporate citizenship department, and I'm going to dive into that at this point in time. My role is Director of Corporate Citizenship and primarily is responsible for community investments. That's our corporate philanthropy. It includes grants and sponsorships, in kind, which also includes transportation. We do in-kind transportation for nonprofit organizations. Community investments can also include the dollars that we use to support our employee involvement in the community through board service grants and Dollars for Doers grants. On employee community engagement, we do service days, fairly significant service days, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. We support employee volunteers and the work that they do, and we support our employees who get involved in nonprofit board service. Key responsibilities as a team include communications and delivering the programs that reach our customers and reach our communities. We try to make sure that everything we do in the corporate citizenship department supports our business through the development of new opportunities for business and for making sure that we're doing things the right way, getting the right results the right way. We're also responsible for managing all of our philanthropy, managing the budget and making sure that we are investing our dollars in the community in a way that meets community needs and supports the objectives of the company. Employee community engagement, as I mentioned a moment ago, includes service days, many of which we do with ACTrees and planting trees in different communities. But we have a whole array of different programs that we do there. And then we do a lot to support the community during natural disasters like hurricanes and tornadoes. Now I'm going to show you some of the areas that we focus on. Most notable today would be what we're doing in the environment because of our connection with ACTrees and urban tree planting. But we do have a huge presence in the railway safety and public safety space because of the nature of what we do, trying to ensure that the public stays safe around our rails and our crossings. We do education to support the community and understanding rail safety and education in the schools around rail safety. In the environment, we pretty much get involved in anything that has to do with preserving and protecting natural resources and air, water, and land, and doing what we can to offset our carbon footprint, planting trees. In the wellness area, we have tried to take the learnings that we've done here at the company with our own employees and tried to do some programming in the communities to support the community at large. And in community leadership and service, we have a very strong emphasis on youth leadership, finding ways to get our youth excited about making a big difference in their futures and the futures of the company. We support organizations that help turn around dropout rates and help educate and provide leadership to young people. And I feel like I'm really racing through this, but I understand the questions come after I'm finished. So please do take notes and we'll answer questions when I get through. Did want to show kind of what we feel is our greatest strength, and that is the actual partnerships that we have with national organizations. Of course, ACTrees is one of them, but our company also does some major work with City Year, FFA, National Safe Place, the Nature Conservancy, Dignity Aware, which is probably one maybe you haven't heard of. That's a national charity that happens to be located here in Jacksonville, and they provide brand new clothing to specific segments. And our newest relationship is with Action for Healthy Kids, and that's an organization that's helping to get students physically active now that a lot of PE programs and recess and things like that are no longer in the schools. But these strategic community partnerships are how we get things done. Our group here is primarily myself, one person responsible for community investment, another person responsible for our employee engagement. Almost half of what we do goes to those in the community investment space, goes to those partners. About 15 million in total this year. And last year we had 1,500 service day hours with another 25,000 hours logged for volunteer service by our employees. One of the things we're the most proud of is our signature programming, our Trees for Tracks program. It's really the reason that we have come to know ACTrees so well. Trees for Tracks is a program that was initiated back in 2009 with a company pledge to plant 21,000 trees, one tree for every mile of track in our network. Those of you that don't know the rail industry, we do have to clear some trees from our lines in order to preserve safety, allowing conductors and engineers to see around bends and what have you, and as a result of that need, we find the need to plant trees, particularly in urban corridors and urban settings. And again, that's what makes the partnership with ACTrees so impressive. ACTrees became our program partner, and they offer a number of different ways in which we can plant those trees. The most noteworthy is volunteer service days, where our employees and other community members come together, typically on a Saturday, to put somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 150 trees in the ground in usually about a 3-hour to 4-hour time frame. At the end of this year, we hope to celebrate the completion of our program. As you can see in the graph, we do have a goal to get to the 21,000 trees at the end of this year. And we really do believe that the program has been so successful that we'd like to do it all over again. So whatever the sequel will be, we'll probably be announcing it as we celebrate the completion of this 5-year program. There really is a lot of power in partnerships, and corporations are looking for partners who can help them through their expertise to do things that the company can't do for itself. That is the case with CSX and ACTrees. We really do rely on the expertise of ACTrees to help us determine the right tree species and the right locations, to help us determine the right planting seasons, to tell us and teach our volunteers how to plant the trees, but also how to take care of the trees. They also provide us with contacts to local affiliates, to city and county tree specialists, or the organizations in many cities that really handle the tree issues for that city. But the most important of all is the follow-up, making sure that when our volunteers come out and give up, a half of their Saturday or more to do the tree planting, that what they've done and what they've accomplished will actually be there a year from then, or 2 years, or maybe even 20 years down the road. So having a partner that can help us ensure that the work that we're doing is sustainable and, long life is a real key. Through our relationship with ACTrees, CSX has several different components of our agreement. The service day planning, those are the most exciting. A typical one of those, we would have somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 150 employees out volunteering to plant trees, depending upon the size. That really determines the number of trees. We've done everything from knee-high trees, that's kind of a rare occurrence, to trees that made your jaw drop when you showed up. I mean, some of those trees I think we've planted have been, 16 to 20 feet tall, and they're pretty hard to move around, but our employees love the challenge, so we appreciate the opportunity to work on those. We do have a program in place that does not require volunteers to plant urban tree canopy. We have a tree giveaway program that we've made available with the help of ACTrees. But besides putting trees in the ground, we also support ACTrees outreach and advocacy programming, youth engagement. Every tree that we do put in the ground, with help from ACTrees and the affiliates, we get an iTree analysis on that, which is very important to us in this world of corporate social responsibility, metrics, and measurement. We're also a Neighborhood sponsor, and we're part of the Corporate Leadership Council. when I think about one of the most important things from a corporation's perspective, in working with an organization like ACTrees or you working with a corporation, it's to make sure that the work that is being done is recorded in a way in which those that are involved can refer back to it, to see what they've accomplished. You know, in the corporate social responsibility world, we are asked to complete surveys throughout the year, and many of those surveys feed into rankings and what have you. Metrics are so important these days, and the ability to keep track of everything you do, not only numerically, but in video, pictures, telling the story is just a critical component and something that corporations really like to be able to see, and anything that you might be able to do there would be most appreciated. We happen to have a site that keeps track of all of our corporate citizenship activities. It's called Beyond Our Rails. You can find it at www.beyondourrails.org. And it really does help us communicate the areas of focus that our corporation has. It provides a nonprofit corner for organizations who are looking for grants, who are looking for volunteers, in-kind transportation, to go to one place and be able to apply for resources. But what we find is really valuable is the event information, a calendar of events, and a place where organizations, people, employees can go to see what we've been doing and to see what's coming up next. It also gives us a chance to highlight what we're doing with organizations and to not only talk about what we do, but as you can see on the next page, we even share what we do with our organization. In this particular case, I've pulled out a slide that talks about what we do and how we plant trees and kind of a planting a tree 101. On this same site, we not only post all of our service day events, but anything, any article, any release that has to do with our partners such as ACTrees, and anything that we can do to showcase our employees and community partners engaged, you know, in tree planting. Back to the concept of sharing everything you do. Pictures really are the best way to do that. Thanks to our partnership with ACTrees, they provide pictures, but typically everything that we do when we have volunteers involved, we have photographers and videographers there to capture everything that we do. And here's a few pictures from past events. I would highly suggest that if you have any interest in CSX being involved in things that you're doing, that you go to the nonprofit corner at beyondourrails.org. Again, the nonprofit corner has an application for sponsorships, grants, volunteers, and in-kind. And everything we do actually goes through that online system. Unfortunately, the volume of requests that we get in our 23 states prevents us from taking personal calls, but we do encourage everybody to take advantage of that particular website. And I think I'm going to close on that and open it up for any questions.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, John. That is a great overview of the work you do and why you think tree planting really helps accomplish the goals that CSX has in its social responsibility and corporate citizenship. So, as John said, we'll open it up for questions to the audience. If you have questions, you see that tab in your control panel. that says questions, just type it in there, and I will ask it out loud over the line. As people are typing, I have lots of questions that I want to ask you about. So this is perfect. Let me start with a general question, sort of about tree planting and working with nonprofits in general. And really, the angle of my questions, or the goal of my questions, is to help a lot of the listeners who work for nonprofits think about how they can improve or design the work that they do with corporate partners. So, John, can you tell me a little bit about why you feel that tree planting and working with nonprofit organizations on community service is good for your employees as compared to other kinds of team building activities that might be done in the office? Sort of what's the case that some local groups could make for tree planting as employee team building?
Sure, and it's a good question. I think a lot of it has to do with the type of organization. I'll quickly state that CSX, we have about 30,000 employees, again, working primarily on the eastern side of the Mississippi. Of that 30,000, roughly 25,000 of them are working pretty much out in the field. So they're in yards, you know, they're along the rails, or they're conductors or engineers. So we have a huge proportion of our workforce that works outside. And the reason I bring that up is because, to hit one of the points, our employees like doing physical activity type of work. They don't like doing, you know, indoor painting all that much. I mean, it's not a preference. They'll do it. But you give them an opportunity to be outside, to be able to have a tool in their hand. For many of our employees, it isn't even just the shovel, but you give them a pick and you give them a rock, and they just really enjoy getting in there and swinging away. So I think one of the nice things about the tree aspect is that it gives our folks the kind of volunteer outlet that they're looking for, being outdoors, typically in a park environment or some other form of community space, making a positive difference in that community space. And or if we were to be doing it at a school or a nonprofit organization, giving back to that organization, that community organization. So I think that's part of it. We also have a lot of employees here in our headquarters location in Jacksonville, Florida, who work, you know, inside much of the day and seem to enjoy that opportunity to get out and plant trees as well. I used to say that everybody loves trees and everybody would accept a new tree being planted on their property or near their property. I know that's not necessarily the case. Some people don't feel that way, but generally speaking, they do. And so tree planting just really appeals to the folks here at CSX.
Excellent. You mentioned the importance of telling the story, both because that's what a company needs to do to show the impact it's having through its CSR work. But tell us a little bit more about what a nonprofit can do to help a company tell its story. So you mentioned photos. ACTrees was a good example. I know sometimes your nonprofit partners do surveys, so you can get feedback from participants and quotes. Why does that matter, and what should folks be looking to do?
Well, it's very interesting. Volunteers have different motivations, and typically your hardcore volunteers, they don't really do it for recognition, but at the same time, getting something that says, you know, just a simple thank you means an awful lot. Our Beyond Our Rails site actually has a place where people can write in and tell a story. And it means a lot when someone kind of unsolicited, an organization that we've supported, writes in and talks about the event and, and is truthful about what they experienced. Typically it's positive, and being able to take that and generate an internal story, putting it in an employee newsletter or putting it on our intranet site, letting the rest of the company see how a group of employees went out and made a difference in a community. It really sparks interest. It really kind of pays forward so that others, want to get involved, want to get out there, and then want to get others involved. So it really helps us help you when we can develop or create the momentum among our employees. Real quick, 2 years ago, we used to really have to push to get volunteers out to some of our events, and don't tell Leland, even some of our ACTrees events. But now we have another problem, but it's a good problem, and that problem is typically we don't have enough space to accommodate all the volunteers that want to come out. So we've created a very positive movement in the volunteer world here at CSX to the point where now we're oversubscribed for our service days, and we have to do a good job managing expectations just because so many people want to get involved.
That's a good problem to have.
It is.
Just one or two more quick questions. You've talked about sort of telling this story to the company once you've already got these projects that are happening and employees are getting engaged. Maybe you can talk a little bit about a good way to approach a company. You guys are very large, but you've got locations all over. It doesn't need to be specifically CSX, but what are the most, beyond just an elevator speech, what do you feel are the most salient or compelling points to trying to get a company to work with you? You've already mentioned, employee engagement and sort of helping to tell the story. How should people tailor that to the people they're talking to?
That's a good one. I'm not often the recipient of those kinds of inquiries, but what I do know is that our employees respond to demonstration of need. When the reason that we need to plant trees is because the longhorn beetle has wiped out a particular type of species in Massachusetts, and you're familiar with that, Leland. We had supported up in Worcester. We did service events, I think 4 years in a row, to help replace that tree population. When there's a need that is well communicated around something like that, people seem to get more motivated to come out and help. So if it happened to be tree damage due to Hurricane Sandy, or if it happened to be tree damage due to one of the tornadoes, or just the loss of trees for some natural reason, if you're able to kind of explain the story, again, there's that word story, our employees seem to respond to that. They, rather than a flyer that says, hey, we're doing this on this date and this is what you get and there's a t-shirt, would be to tell the story a little bit at the time that you're trying to sign people up. As a result of, Hurricane Sandy, we lost a lot of trees across the seaboard. Our organization is trying to bring back urban canopy in the following parks, and kind of explain the story to them, what the need is, explain the need, and make it as compelling of a story as you can.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, John. Really appreciate it. And we're gonna, of course, keep you on, and we may even have you answer a few questions at the end as well. That's great, wonderful first presentation and great perspective. We're gonna shift gears and hear from a different company and another great partner of Alliance for Community Trees, from Katie Thiemann, who is the Associate Vice President of Community Relations at TD Bank, US. After graduating from Rowan University with a bachelor's degree in marketing, Katie has spent the past decade working in various capacities at TD Bank, including in commercial lending, retail banking, and marketing. In her current role, Katie acts as both a program specialist and national volunteer manager, supporting the development and management of corporate community involvement. She runs the US-based employee engagement programs and activities for TD, ensuring they remain consistent with the bank's corporate citizenship, community giving, and business goals. Katie manages TD Bank's employee engagement programs, including the Employee Workplace Giving Campaign, and is also the US coordinator for the TD Volunteer Network, which is the bank's global employee volunteer program. Katie also, most important for today's call, runs US TD Tree Days and partners with ACTrees and our local member organizations to do so. So Katie, thank you so much for joining us. Please take it away.
Hi, good afternoon. That sounds like I do a lot.
You do.
Thank you everyone for joining us today and taking the time to listen to myself and John. I'm kind of going through the same thing that John did. I'm going to touch base on TD Bank's corporate social responsibility program, and also how we plan and execute our employee engagement programs, and with that it includes our tree planting program. So TD is committed to linking its business strategy to our corporate responsibility approach. Simply put, TD's business strategy is founded upon delivering value to customers, shareholders, and our communities. We seek to differentiate the TD brand by delivering great customer service and being responsive to our customers' financial needs. We depend upon a knowledgeable, engaged, and diverse workforce to deliver the TD experience. So TD's environmental strategy has a goal of embedding an environmental perspective into all aspects of our business. We implement our strategy through 4 environmental pillars, and they are reducing the environmental footprint of our business operations, responsible financing that includes proactive management of environmental and related social risks, developing green products and service options for all of our customers, and what I do, engaging our employees and communities to raise environmental awareness and make an impact. And I'll get into a little bit more detail about that later on. So the next slide shows, it's a snapshot from our CSR report from 2012, our performance highlights, and it talks about our overall pillars of the bank. So TD's growth strategy aims to build a company that we deliver shareholder value over the long term and leave a sustainable organization for our future. We are mindful that TD can only be successful as the communities in which we operate in, and that brings a particular responsibility to help strengthen those communities. Our corporate responsibility strategy is built on 4 themes that contribute to TD's overall vision to be the better bank. So you can see there, be customer focused, to be an environmental leader, to build an extraordinary workplace, and also to strengthen our communities. And where my department fits in, which is community relations, our focus is on the strengthening our communities part of our pillars, and we have 4 of those: financial literacy and education, and these are across North America, I should point out. So it's Canada as well as here in the US. I manage the programs in the US only, but we align as much as we can with our partner in Canada. So together we do financial literacy and education, creating opportunities for young people. A huge impact in the US here is affordable housing, and as well as helping the environment. And you can see we've planted 40,000 plus trees in the past couple of years. Actually, I'm sorry, that was just in 2012 itself. We planted over 40,000 trees. So what community relations does, we develop and implement and manage TD's corporate community involvement and employee engagement strategy, programs, and initiatives in alignment with all of TD's business goals. In the US, CRA is very important, so anything we do has to relate back to the Community Reinvestment Act. You'll see in there it says, tell TD's community story, a lot of what John has talked about earlier. We also try to make sure everything we do is in the interest of our employees and also in the interest of our community as well as our community needs. In every program we do, we try to look at the scope to see if it's U.S. focused or North American overall. And again, we try to align as much as we can with our partners in Canada. So a lot of our programs are North American based. A little bit more about what we do. So our programs at TD Bank, we have education programs, which is our summer reading program, and first book reading parties across from Maine to Florida. We have two environmental programs, TD Tree Days, which we partner with ACTrees on, as well as TD Green Streets. And then some of our other employee engagement programs is our annual employee giving campaign, our TD Volunteer Network, which is our new volunteer system we'll be launching next month, which will be great for any volunteer opportunities that any of you might have. We love to put them into the system and get our employees out there. They're always looking for ways to get involved in the community, and we're excited to be able to launch this to our employees for a place to track hours and search for opportunities around them for them to get involved. We also have a volunteer donation program for when an employee volunteers 40 hours or more at a local community organization. We'll donate $500 in their name. And we also have our employee reading program where employees go out to local schools, libraries, community groups, and read a pack of 3 financial themed books to the children over a course of time. And again, they get volunteer hours credit towards that. We have special initiatives, like John said, we do in-kind contributions. Ours is more usually based on technology, computer refurbishments and stuff like that. We also do internal, external collection drives. We align with all of our affiliates, so TD Auto Finance, TD Securities, TD Ameritrade, and TD Bank USA. So it's not just the bank that we're managing programs for. And like John said, there's a lot of communications, and this all leads to telling our story, which is very important. So we have the Global Community Responsibility Report, annual reports, different awards and nominations. Team Wow is our intranet. Track all the photos and videos we get, because again, photos are the best way of telling a story. And of course, internal, external communications with our media relations partner. So this leads me to TD Tree Days, which is our flagship volunteer program. It's launched in 2010 as a national employee engagement program in Canada. TD Tree Days has evolved into TD's flagship volunteer program, engaging employees, friends, family, and community partners in 4 countries. TD Tree Days invests in the health of our urban tree canopies and offers TD employees a fun, easy, and rewarding way to give back and help green the communities in which we live and work. The program also provides employees the opportunity to demonstrate leadership and environmental stewardship in their local communities. And in 3 short years, thousands of volunteers across North America and England have planted more than 85,000 trees through this program. And so in 2011 was the first time it was introduced in the U.S., and we started with a small amount of tree plantings. There was only 3 plantings. We had 251 volunteers. We planted 177 trees in those 3 events. And in 2012, you can see I have the results up. We more than doubled what we did the year before. We went from 3 to 10 plantings. We had over 500 volunteers. We planted almost 550 trees. I included a picture here from our Miami planting last year. I was told it was one of the hottest days for them to plant a tree. I believe Leland, you were at that event. All they complained about was how hot it was, and I know they showed up in jeans, but I know everyone walked away having a great time. And that leads me to 2013, which is this year. Starting at the end of September, we will have TD volunteers in more than 165 communities in U.S., Canada, United Kingdom, and Luxembourg. We'll plant more than 45,000 trees this year. This year in the U.S., we'll be planting in 20 communities, which I have up on the screen there, with more than 1,000 volunteers and planting over 1,700 trees. So we're very excited. It seems like each year we're doing more than doubling what we're doing in our communities, and we hope to continue that in the coming years. Our employees are definitely very engaged, and although we keep expanding, you know, employees, there's not one everywhere. Again, we're Maine to Florida. We have 1,300 stores and locations and plenty of back offices, and they always want more, and we try to let them know, you know, we try to build it so people can at least drive about an hour, hour and a half if need be. But they want more, so hopefully, you know, we'll be able to work with ACTrees in the future about expanding this and getting more out to the communities. Each of our sites are determined by need, and we plant trees that are best for that location. Each event ranges in size from 30 to 100 volunteers. It all depends, again, on the need, and the trees that are picked there range in size as well. I know John had mentioned that. So to to create a program at TD in the Community Relations Department, and again, Tree Days is probably is our biggest signature program. A lot goes into it to stay aligned with all of TD's pillars. So when we started working with ACTrees in 2011, we had to walk through all these program concepts. We do our research, we look at best practices, we try to align with our partner up in Canada. We have to look at funding and budget to see how far we can expand to our employees. Again, if we could do one in every city, I know they'd love it. Build our campaign partnership and our vendor relationship. So again, this would be with ACTrees. We look at all of our internal partners, CRA operations. We have a charitable foundation. CAPA is our media relations partner, marketing. We do everything through HR, environmental affairs, privacy and legal, just to name a few. So again, we can't just create a program on our own. We have to work with everyone to make sure that it's going to align and support the company's social responsibility goals. So some of our feedback from our volunteer events, most of these came from our Tree Days in the past couple of years. Very good, very positive. You know, people sometimes don't know what to expect. They plan on going out there. They think that they're going to plant those 2-foot trees, and come to find out it's a 6-foot tree, and they're a little nervous about how are they going to do that. But afterwards, they're excited that they got to do that. They got to stand in the hole and put the tree, and so it's always great feedback. One thing that's not on here that I heard last year from one of our employees is one of the best parts of our employees volunteering for TD Tree Days is that they get to go out and work with all levels of employees. So last year I had a teller service manager come up to me and told me that she got to meet her idol and got to plant a tree next to him, and her idol was the market president. That he was like a god here in South Jersey, and to be able to spend time with him in jeans and a t-shirt, get dirty, plant a tree, she literally told me that it made her day and it was worth driving the hour to do the planting, and she couldn't wait for the next year. So the benefit of these plantings is, you're not just working with your team members. You get to go out there, you get to meet other employees, you get to work with leadership, and when you're out there and everyone's out there in jeans and the same t-shirt, no one knows who you are, what you do, and what level you are at the bank. You're out there for one goal. And in the end, it's just amazing to see everyone's smiles in their faces afterwards. Again, here's some pictures taken throughout the past couple of Tree Day events. Everyone's got smiles on, whether or not it's Miami in that top left corner in the sun, or in the bottom in Detroit where it was cold and they have their sweatshirts on. So no matter what, everyone always has a great time. So I think that's about it for me. I have my contact information up here. Also, the link for looking at our corporate responsibility report is there. We did not print any out this year. We do it all via electronic. Again, to be environmentally friendly is the goal for everything we do this year. So if you'd like to take a look at that, please, you can check out that link. I believe Sarah said that the presentation would be emailed out to everyone.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Katie.
Welcome.
So again, folks, we are going to open the lines up for questions. So in that question and answer tab, or the questions tab rather, type them in and we will ask them out loud. In the meantime, I again have lots of questions, so I'm going to start off with those while people are typing in. One of the things that I think is really interesting about working with TD, as we have planned these TD Tree Days in the past, we always work with our local member organizations, just as with CSX, local tree nonprofits and partners to organize the tree planting. And what's a little bit different about TD employees sometimes as compared to others is that as a bank, a lot of your employees work, they're not full-time working every day. And that's true with many companies all around the country. And that also means that there's, different considerations for engaging employees and, can they take the time off, that kind of thing. Tell us a little bit about what people need to keep in mind when working with a company that has that kind of employment structure.
Sure. So being flexible is probably the number one thing for me to say. For us, our bank is open 7 days a week. A lot of times we're open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. in majority of our stores, and we have our call centers that are open 24 hours a day, every day of the year. So for us to be able to pull employees out to volunteer in these signature events and programs, we have to make sure that it's during a time where there could be coverage in the stores, because you can't just do something in a city where we only have maybe 2 or 3 stores that are local, and you're looking for 30 volunteers, but our stores only have about 12 people, 12 employees in it. So it would be very hard to pull everyone out. So we have to think about, when we do these larger programs and even smaller location or smaller programs, what's being done and how many people and where can we pull from. It's always easier for us to work where we have corporate offices, and we do have a lot of those throughout the company. But again, we can't just do something on a Saturday because we have, the stores are open every day. So we'd always be pulling from people. So it's just, we have to be flexible. Let's make it work. If a big event doesn't work, maybe we can break it up to 2 or 3 smaller events where we can engage different employees that can't possibly get out. So.
Great. And then this is another broad question. So thank you and John both for answering my broad questions. But you showed us again a great example of how TD promotes the social work that you're doing with your partners, and you showed us some of those great quotes. Tell us a little bit more about how you guys like to tell your story through pictures, through quotes. What is the feedback that you like to receive to help tell both your company and the people with the purse strings that this is a valuable program, both for public.
The purse strings are the most important people sometimes.
That's right.
John mentioned that he had a staff of, I think, 1 or 2 other people, and we're that size as well. So we have 28,000 employees in the U.S., and currently there's only 2 of us, hopefully a 3rd one soon, doing this. So, there's only so much we can say and get out to people. So a lot of times when we're doing presentations, we need those pictures. And we need to prove to the people with the purse strings that doing these programs are important and that our employees want to do that. To get the feedback and the quotes from them. So the surveys that we receive after each event is great when asking the employees, their actual feeling. Checking off boxes and rating stuff is great, but we want to see their words. They're the ones that tell the story. And the pictures are great to be able to show employees out there doing the planning, digging the holes, standing there in the rain in Portland, Maine last year. I believe it poured rain for most of the morning, but they were still out there planning with smiles on their faces. So anytime we can do photos and just personal feedback from employees are great, because we need to show the people that manage the budget that it's worth the money to invest to be able to do these programs.
Fantastic. And this is another question that is a little broad, but I'm hoping you'll take a crack at it. And then also, John, feel free to jump in on this one. In many cases, it's easy enough to get a company to send out its employees to do a one-day tree planting. That's what a lot of our members and local nonprofits see. What are your suggestions for turning those one-off sort of corporate volunteer tree plantings into some kind of larger partnership with a company to do more plantings or to grow that funding or some kind of continued sustained partnership? How should people go about that, and what's the approach they should take?
Oh, that's a tough question. I think a lot of it is building a relationship with the local community market, showing that the market so if we go out and do this big TD Tree Days with ACTrees, in our Philadelphia location, for the organization to maybe follow up with the local market and say, hey, would love to have volunteers come back next month to help water trees or prune the trees and stuff like that, and to continue to build it locally. And as a corporate level, to see that partnership kind of continue building after we've done this, large scale event. I think it would definitely be something that overall corporately, they might see and want to build off of it and maybe continue to build that partnership with that local member organization. Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't even mean from TD's perspective, but it was a great example.
Yeah, I think it could play overall.
Yeah, a lot of people who are listening are working for nonprofits, and so just to hear from private business corporate examples, or just your perspective about how to keep working with folks, we really appreciate it. John, do you have any thoughts on that question?
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. Again, back to our Beyond our Rails.org site, there's an opportunity there for nonprofits to go in and post events for our employees to see and sign up for. I mean, if you have the fortune of having CSX come to the town that you're actually doing an event and being a participant in that in a big way, you can actually, you know, identify champions who are there locally who might want to continue to do your work in their community. But even if that doesn't happen, you have the ability to go into beyondourrails.org and post an event. Tree plantings have become very popular because of the program we have with Trees for Tracks. And you can basically put that in there, and employees who are looking for opportunities in the community can find that and can get involved. And the kind of person that proactively looks for those kinds of events are the kinds of people that would be more inclined to do recurring events. And if you ever do find one of those champions, inviting them to be, you know, on your board or in some capacity as a leader, you know, we're really promoting that with our company employees right now. And depending upon their level, they might even garner some charitable support for your organization. Every one of our employees also qualify for our Dollars for Doers program. So similar to what Katie mentioned, if an employee comes out and works with your organization, and even if they work with multiple organizations, they'll be able to cash out the hours that they volunteer for funding to any organization, nonprofit 501c3 organization of their choice. So once you get them and they, you know, become familiar with you and you become kind of what they are interested in supporting, you can even benefit from Dollars for Doers.
Great, thank you. I think we probably have time for one final question, so I'll ask it out. And this is about what your employees, both you when you attend these events and what your employees are expecting when you show up at a volunteer event. You both, for your signature events through Trees for Tracks and TD Tree Days, have sometimes had really lovely and very thoughtful and complete events with breakfast and lunch and water and you know, bathroom facilities and photographer and name tags and things like that. That's, I think, at the high end. But what do you think you know, corporate employees expect to see? Whether it's some food, you know, the opportunity to have your banner up there. What do you want to see when you come to an event like this?
I think, I mean, talking for our employees, not necessarily myself planning events. I think our employees would want to come and just, they want to see an event where everyone wants a T-shirt. They all want to, you know, look alike and have that T-shirt. But I think they just overall, they're looking forward to a place to work together in the community. I don't necessarily think it's about the food, the drinks. I think that's a nice to have. I think seeing a banner with the two logos on it, you know, our company and the partner logo on it, I think that's important to see that we're working together. But I think overall, our employees, they're just coming to look out, coming for an event itself, just a place to come out, do the work that they want, volunteer, help the community. And I think as long as they leave with a smile on their face, knowing what they did was great, to us, that's a perfect event.
Great.
On our end, I think one of the most important things is just having a well-organized event, kind of having a firm starting point and a firm ending point, an explanation of what's going to be accomplished, how it's going to be accomplished, and then making it meaningful service. We found just from evaluating surveys that our employees want to, if they're going to take the time to come out and volunteer their time, they want to be busy, they want to be active, they want to be engaged, they want to feel as though they're making a difference. And unlike maybe what maybe back when we were in high school or whatever, the more we do, the more we sweat, the better we feel about what we've done. I mean, it sounds like that isn't necessarily the case, but if you dilute the event by having too many volunteers, meaning people are standing around holding shovels and not active, that's where you lose them. So
Agreed.
I would say you need to make it meaningful volunteer service, that they feel like they really put a lot into it, and that, you know, the work that they did is going to be appreciated.
Fantastic. That, I think, is all we have time for right now. We are right at the end of our webcast, so I want to thank you both so much for telling us about your CSR work and what it means to do community tree plantings, and how nonprofits can work with corporate partners to have a real impact and make a difference in communities. Today's presentations and this recorded session will all be available in about 1 week, along with a related resource list on the topic. And we will send all of those out to everyone who completes the survey that you're going to see in just a few minutes at the close of the session. So again, please take just a minute to complete that survey that pops up. It really helps us to make sure that we are providing webcasts on topics that matter to you and that are relevant to your work. Our next webcast session, as we head back into the fall, will be on September 19th. We'll be covering how to engage children in learning about trees, both inside and outside the classroom. And that'll be, again, on Thursday, September 19th. So look out and sign up for that one. A big thank you to our two presenters, John Kitchens from CSX and Katie Thiemann from TD Bank. Really appreciate your time and your wonderful insight into corporate citizenship and corporate social responsibility. Big thank you to all of our attendees, all the participants. This has been a program of Alliance for Community Trees. We look forward to working with you in the future. Have a great day.